video is brought to you by the HNKL, the Hornet Nest Kicking League, of which I remain supreme champion. Today, it's weeb season, and I'm on the hunt. The world's greatest keyboard warrior is looking you straight in the eyes right now. I am armed with a 100% Amazon Basics keyboard, and I can smell the drop of blood from a weeb 10 miles away. I posted this video a while back, you may have heard of it. It's called Persona 3 Has a Bad Story, actually. Don't look at the title now, though. Don't look at that. I wasn't going to change the title of that video. Oh, no. That was Animal Man. Animal Man changed the title of that video because he's weak. But I am not Animal Man. Oh, no. I am a shadow. The true self.
If you've watched this video and you still love Persona 3, I want you to keep the love that you have for this game.
See that clip? See that clip I just played for you? That was Animal Man. That wasn't me. I would never say such a thing in my life. I am not bound by being polite or charitable or in good faith. No. Nor am I bound to the feelings that you may have about your favorite anime game. A true keyboard warrior would never stand down to a comment section infested with angry weeds. They cannot take away this masterful, flawless piece of work that I have graced you all with.
I had to stop watching this video because there were too many glaring issues in the first 5 minutes.
Oh, so we have ourselves another keyboard warrior. Give me your worst.
1. Clickbait title intended to get views through rage.
The views were a lot less important to me than the rage. You could make the case that this video is rage bait, and if it is, you specifically seem to have fallen for the rage bait pretty hard given how much you decided to write in my comments section.
Persona 3 has a really bad story. Actually, you don't get to make that statement, the audience does, and as you already know, they disagree with you.
I'm actually part of the audience too. I'm just a member of the audience that's not as persuaded by the bandwagon fallacy like you are. You can't take away my freedom of speech, weeb.
015 insulting P1 and P2 fans.
Insulting P1 and P2 fans? Really? This is the insult that they're talking about.
I haven't heard anyone try to argue that the first two were the best ones, but that's to be expected. Those games were old and don't represent the modern day Persona franchise very well.
How do you survive on the internet thinking that that was an insult, really?
043 insulting P3 fans.
And to the real hardcore weebs, Persona 3 could have been their first.
I'm starting to think that you need some thicker skin.
047 insulting P5 fans. Okay, you insulted everyone, but P4 in the first minute. I'm sure this video contains little bias.
Okay, I called them normies. And yeah, I'm biased. I actually spent like a good chunk of the video telling everybody that I was biased.
Firstly, I want to let you know what my biases are going into this deconstruction. I really think that biases play a larger role in the Persona franchise compared to other franchises, and I can do everything I can to tone down those biases, and I can try to judge these games as objectively as I can, but I believe that's a little bit harder with the Persona games.
I'm not sure if you actually watched that part of the video or not, but I was actually pretty obnoxiously clear about what my biases were.
1 o'clock. These people seem to be more hardcore fans of Atlas and JRPGs. Okay, give me proof.
Give you proof? What do you mean? It's my perception. I'm stating my perception. What do you want from me? A peer-reviewed study?
128 January 19th, 2023 P3P. If you can't respect the game in that form, then you don't respect the game.
Okay, then I don't respect the game. Everybody said that was a bad port of the game anyway. I wasn't gonna pick that up.
And that the way that you summon personas is by shooting yourself in the head, which was so comically edgy, I kinda loved it at the time.
But ripping your face off isn't.
I do in fact think that shooting yourself in the head is more dramatic and edgy than ripping a mask off your face. Yes, that is correct, yes.
236 You should have done your research. There are so many differences between the games to name them all.
As it turns out, you don't actually have to do a bunch of research in order to figure out what your opinion is on a video game. I also really don't need to play every single version of Persona 3 in order to have an opinion on Persona 3. I'm sorry.
325 You didn't finish the story as evident in the change episode button.
No. I finished the game. I finished the game.
Episode Aegis is not just DLCP3 FES, includes it in the base game.
I didn't play that version of the game, my weeb. I didn't play that version, you may have noticed in the video. If a game requires that you play bonus content in order to truly get the story, that's not a good story. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you. It doesn't matter if it's included with the game or not.
You spoiled yourself by watching the OP. You should know you played P5 and P4 OP contains spoilers. You already knew about evokers and our unusual opinion on them.
Okay, first of all, I didn't spoil myself with that. I already knew that you shoot yourself in the head long before I watched that little introduction cinematic. But are you really telling me that it's my fault for watching the opening cinematic? Like the opening cinematic that the developers put in the game before you play the game. If I don't skip it, that's my fault? Is that the argument that you're making right now?
403 This entire cutscene has major difference in P3, P3P, and the movies.
Dude, I don't care. I'm not playing this game, the same game, like 4 different times and then watching 4 different movies. You have to know that this is so stupid. You have to know.
429 We don't know because we know openings contain spoilers and skip them, and many realize it will contain spoilers, so skip it.
So you're serious? So you're telling me it's my fault for watching the opening cinematic that the developers put there for me to watch before I play the game? It's my fault for watching that. That's really the argument you're going with here.
It's also a bit weird in retrospect, because it's clearly daytime when she's trying this, but the evoker should only be working during the dark hour, right? Whatever.
Here is where you lose me. This seems like a gotcha moment for tearing the story down.
No, I very clearly was not trying to tear the story down here. I was just pointing out something that I thought was odd and saying, whatever.
I'm sure I could tear this entire video to shreds with things you've gotten wrong, but I don't need to because you are in the 0.1%.
Oh, my sweet wee, but you couldn't even make it past 5 minutes. You're not gonna be able to tear a video apart if you can't make it past 5 minutes. With that said, I'd love to see you try. That'd be very funny. Please do that.
Also, Persona 3 has a really bad story. Actually, stated as fact is clickbait.
Subjectivity is implied. I have a really bad feeling that I'm going to be referencing Joseph Anderson a lot throughout this entire video.
You also edited the thumbnail to make the game appear worse.
What? What do you mean? Did you think that I was like trying to trick the entirety of the world into believing that the game looks like that? Even though I have footage of the actual game in the video? What are you smoking, my weeb?
It's not a big deal, but you should see the problem being wrong with so many things so close together in a video that is supposed to prove a point.
And maybe you should see the problem with so many things being wrong in a YouTube comment that's trying to make a point.
In the video you state multiple times that this video is covering all versions of the story.
What video were you watching? No, I never said that at all. I said like once in the like spoiler part of the video that there would probably be spoilers for each of the versions of the game, but I didn't say I was covering each version of the game. Maybe you should have done your research.
The DLC is not DLC in P3FES. Maybe if you did your research you would realize that, especially with it being called the answer.
Well, guess what? I didn't play P3FES, and I shouldn't have to.
Also, you can't say the entire story is bad if you didn't finish a story.
I did finish the story.
You can only say the parts you played were bad with the knowledge you had of it.
But that's what I did. I didn't say that the DLC was bad. I just said that I was just talking about the main part of the story.
Then stop implying this video goes for all versions of P3 with no research into the others.
I never implied that. You're fighting the wind, my dude.
You imply your experience is the others would have, but others didn't share yours commonly.
I don't know what that sentence means. But I think I was pretty clear in the beginning of the video in saying that my opinion was going to be in the minority.
You should delete this video if you don't want to tarnish your representative for future videos.
You should delete this comment if you don't want to ruin your representative for future comments. Speaking of which...
You did not start the video with this information. It is buried in it to get people to watch without them having information that should be at the start. In fact, you shouldn't even need to tell them because this video should not exist.
Are you upset?
You are the only person I have ever seen to not like the intro, and I have seen so many people's opinions of the start of the game.
Well, I'm so glad that I could broaden your horizons a little bit. What's it like dipping your toes outside of the echo chamber of insecure teenage boys? I'd like to welcome you to the real world, where different people have different opinions than you and your lovely little anecdotes.
BTW, he is acting like this review covers all versions of P3.
No, I never implied that. You're making that up. Also, you should have done your research research. I'm pretty sure that I very specifically say that this video is not a review.
This is not a review of Persona 3's story.
You should have done your research. Also, he didn't finish the game or do any research for this video.
I finished the game. I finished the game.
He is trying to speak for everyone with that title when an overwhelmingly amount of people disagree with him.
No, I'm trying to speak for myself. I acknowledge that most people disagree with me at the beginning of the video. You would know that if you paid attention.
You look like his alt account being the only one defending him in the comments when everyone else is against him, but you left 3 comments on this video. I doubt you even watched the entire video and are just a hater of P3.
Dude, you didn't watch the video. You stopped 5 minutes into this video. What are you criticizing him for? You're so mad. Do you need to touch grass? This might be a case where you need to touch some grass, man.
I went in with the intent to love it. No, you didn't. You gave up on the story a minute into the story.
No, actually, I gave up about an hour into the game, but you wouldn't know that because you didn't watch past 5 minutes of the video.
Someone who came into a story to love it would continue to pay attention to the story and wouldn't miss obvious things in the story.
No, my sweet weeb. When I say that I'm coming into a story, that implies that I'm talking about the beginning of the story. That attitude doesn't have to stay the same throughout the entire story, especially if the story starts to suck despite my expectations.
Also, if you go in expecting to love something, the chances you will be disappointed greatly increase.
Wait, so which is it? Did you think that I didn't want to enjoy it or not? You want to say that I didn't go into this story expecting to enjoy my time so that you can rationalize away why I didn't actually like it, but you also want to say that I went into the game expecting to enjoy myself so that you can say that my expectations were too high. You can't have it both ways, my weeb.
I see you run away from my previous reply when you got no support on it.
You interpreting me as running away in reality is just me not being as terminally online as you are.
I see you hearting anyone who agrees with you and fighting all that don't.
Even if that were true, which it isn't, you just revealed that you are hate monitoring the comment section of a video that you watched 5 minutes of. I'm not feeling like the person who's really losing here.
Someone needs to teach you a lesson.
Rest assured, you are teaching me some lessons, but it is not the kinds of lessons that you think that you're teaching me.
I've had enough of this.
You're not gonna tell me what I'm gonna do and not do?
I am now the alpha.
You just replied to me now. I see you replying to other comments, also leaving
Oh my,
hearts.
dude, this might be a terminal case of the weebs that you have, okay? Like, touching grass, that's not gonna be enough for you. You need to be injected with 300 cc's of grass, stat!
You always insult me in every comment and act superior to everyone who is against you.
I do not act superior to everybody who disagrees with me, just you specifically. Don't worry, I'm pretty sure I could say whatever I want about him at this point, because we're past the 5 minute mark on this video, so he won't even get this far. It's totally fine.
You are destroying your own future as a content creator acting like this.
Last I checked, YouTube hasn't removed the upload video button for me, so I think we're good.
This video is not just your opinion. You are spreading lies about the game because of your lack of media understanding.
That's pretty rich coming from somebody who's spreading lies about my video thanks to their lack of media understanding.
I also notice you made a hate video on Metroid Dread. You can only spread negativity.
I think you might be cherry picking just a little bit there. Also, I liked Metroid Dread. I said at the very beginning of the video that Metroid Dread was a good game.
Metroid Dread is a good game.
You would know that if you had done your research.
Important. This is to anyone who has yet to watch this video. The video maker has responded and stated himself, I can excuse that mistake on my end because the opening was so bad I didn't really pay attention to the game that much afterwards.
Yeah, I said that in the video. That's in the video. You would know that if you had gotten past the 5 minute mark of the video. I'm not hiding this from anyone. This isn't a secret that you're revealing to the world.
Pretentious is right.
Pretentious? Don't call me that. That's my one weakness.
If you stop paying attention at the thing you're reviewing, your review is already invalid and not worth listening to.
It's a good thing I specifically said that this wasn't a review then.
This is not a review of Persona 3's story.
Seems as though you stopped paying attention to the thing that you're reviewing.
Congrats on the most attention you're ever gonna get. It's not happening ever again.
Actually, the most attention that I ever got was with Zoo Tycoon 2. If I wanted more attention, I would just nostalgia bait more, alright? I've already cracked the system.
Yeah, that's cause each game has a different theme. It would have been nice if you had noticed. It's kinda odd to make an hour video about how a game's story is bad and not notice that there's a theme going on.
I did notice the theme. The problem is that the theme doesn't mean anything to me if it's built on a foundation of bad storytelling and writing.
You ignored the story.
You ignored the video.
Didn't understand the story because you ignored it, and it's somehow the game's fault.
I do actually believe that it is the game's responsibility to hold my attention. So yes, I do think it's the game's fault.
I mean, you clearly don't understand why.
Oh goodness, another essayist. Okay, yeah, sure, no, that's correct. I don't understand why. Please enlighten me.
Saying, oh, if you like it, that's fine, doesn't work when you refuse to acknowledge why people like it.
Actually, it does work. This is what we call respecting the fact that other people have different opinions than you. I'm actually allowed to not like whatever I want for no reason. And I'm also capable of understanding that art can have different impacts on different people, which is a concept that I'm learning is very foreign to the weebs.
The entire video is just misrepresenting the game.
Incorrect! I am not misrepresenting the game when I say that Ikutsuki explains to two people who already know what the Dark Hour is what the Dark Hour is. I'm not misrepresenting the game when I point out that the protagonist and Yukari could have just gone to the command room instead of going on the roof. And I'm not misrepresenting the story when I point out that the protagonist shoots himself in the head for no good reason. Listen, Animal Man, that guy, he's totally fine with admitting that he got some parts of this video wrong. But if you're trying to suggest that the video misrepresents the entire game, you're not just wrong, you're salty.
Most of the complaints are because it's an old game or you straight up not using your brain.
No, most of my complaints come from the fact that the story was supposed to be phenomenal and the storytellers didn't use their brain.
Why are shadows called them? Because it's the first time shadows were in the series. Just because you know what they are doesn't mean people did when it first came out, and saying their name gives people a thing to theorize about when they wanted to keep it a secret.
No, you don't understand the problem with the pronoun game. The problem with the pronoun game is not that building suspense is a bad thing in a story. The pronoun game is bad because it's a cheap and lazy way to build suspense. I over-explained the pronoun game. I thought to myself, maybe I'm talking too much about this. Maybe the audience will get this and I can just cut this part out. But apparently I didn't explain it enough.
Why was Yukari trying to shoot herself in the evening? Because she's never summoned her persona before and was trying to—
I never questioned why Yukari was trying to shoot herself. I was questioning if personas could be summoned during the daytime. I wasn't questioning her motivations as to why she was trying to
Why does Junpei latch on to you? Because he's a friendly guy.
I know why. I know why he latches onto you. I'm saying that it's dumb. That was the point of that. How exactly are you the one accusing me of not using my brain when you can't spare 6 brain cells to try and understand my perspective?
Why doesn't Junpei join Strega?
I was suggesting that as an idea for the game that the story could have taken. I wasn't... you just watched the video and you didn't understand anything.
How come Junpei and Chidori fall in love so quickly? I mean, that's how love works.
Wow, what a great explanation. You'd be a really great anime writer, I gotta say. I don't know if you've considered that as a career path, but you'd be really good at it.
Look, if you don't like the story, that's fine. That's your opinion and I can't take away from that. But all the reasons you listed for not liking it are factually invalid. It's like an essay that cites its sources, but you're twisting all the sources to fit your opinion instead of finding sources that actually back up your opinion.
In response, I'm going to copy what you said and give it back to you because I think it's more applicable to you than you even realize. Look, if you don't like the video, that's fine. That's your opinion and I can't take away from that. But all the reasons that you listed for not liking it are factually invalid. It's like an essay that cites its sources, but you're twisting all the sources to fit your opinion instead of finding sources that actually back up your opinion. Feels very applicable.
Junpei's entire arc with Chidori is literally him trying to befriend somebody who is actively fighting against what Seize is trying to accomplish. I think that's probably one of the strongest examples the game could have shown to prove that part of his character.
That's great, but that also happens like halfway through the story, and if you had paid attention to my video, you would know that I was complaining about that because it seemed like a cheap way to introduce his character. Pay attention!
The whole reason Makoto, Junpei, and Akihiko try to talk to different women during the July beach trip is all because of Junpei's friendly attitude.
No. That's because of Junpei's horny attitude, okay? You're coping really hard if you think he was just being like he was just trying to make friends with all the girls on the beach.
Then Junpei and Makoto are in the same boat and join Seas at the same time. Yet Makoto gets the leader status and basically outclasses him at everything he does. It 100% makes sense for him to feel inferior and envious of Makoto's success. It's a natural development of his character and isn't random in the slightest.
No, they're not in the same boat. The protagonist gets his persona powers before Junpei does. He also joins Seas before Junpei does. And again, if you had paid attention to the video, you would know that I was complaining about the jealousy arc because it didn't feel like it got resolved in a meaningful way. It just was there and then it wasn't there. It did nothing. There was no point in it.
You don't get to complain about a story you didn't pay attention to.
I do get to complain about a story that didn't hold my attention, actually.
I suppose that's why you completely missed basic stuff. Like the fact that Junpei trying to make friends with everyone is a big reason for his arc with Chidori.
Oh, I didn't miss that part. I just said it was stupid.
The fact that Akihiko works out to never feel powerless like he did when he lost his sister.
Oh, right. I did forget about that. You ever notice how, like, when anime writers want to give a really boring backstory to their characters, they just, like, say that one of their family members died? I'm so bored of, like, this super cheap way to give any character you want a source of motivation by just, like, having one of their relatives be dead sometime in the past. I don't care, I'm so bored of it.
Like the fact that Shinji joined Seas to attempt to protect Ken and avoid a repeat of the mistake he made a few years ago, etc.
Okay, look, if that's the reason that Shinji joined Seas again, then Shinji's pretty dumb. Because the best way to avoid having history repeat itself there is to just keep doing what he's doing and not have anything to do with the Persona Clan.
You used Trey Parker and Matt Stone's lecture on story beats, but then proceeded to use that example in just a sequence of events. It's quite clear that you don't know what story beats are because you can put
and then
and make this meaningless criticism for everything. Let me give you an example. Animal_man_ decided that he wanted to make a criticism video, and then he opened his mouth and proceeded to make what has to be one of the worst videos ever made on anything ever.
Yeah, you noticed how that story that you just gave me is a really boring story? Cause that's the point. That's the point!
I'd like to say congratulations. I don't think something this bad could be made even if people tried, so you've actually created something special here.
Criticizing Weeb's favorite Persona game is like the equivalent of 10 Nazi Germanys to them.
You don't get to write off the story as being bad when you only played a tiny fraction of it and skimmed through the rest.
Yes, I do.
Greater than names the video in a manner which in no way frames it as an opinion.
I don't need to frame it as an opinion. It's an opinion whether I want it to be or not.
Greater than gets fairly critiqued for making a half-assed rage bait with no substance cause the views on previous vids were insufficient.
Dude, if I wanted to milk views, I would just nostalgia bait again like I have in the past. You can accuse me of having bad media literacy. You can accuse me of being bigoted against the weebs, but you can't accuse me of doing this for views just because you're mad, okay? I'm sorry.
Actually, this is an opinion piece, not a critique or a review.
I mean, I tried to warn you.
This is not a review of Persona 3's story. I hesitate to call it a critique, even.
I never claimed objectivity, so I don't have to actually prove anything.
It's not that I don't have to prove anything, it's that you don't need to throw a hissy fit when I disagree with you because of its subjective nature.
The fact that you didn't even bother getting into the game, and was just skimming through the story, and didn't even finish it tells
I did finish it. I did finish the game. Your DLC does not count.
Your opinion will naturally be shallow and worthless if your experience was willingly avoiding experiencing.
I wasn't willingly avoiding experiencing it. I was very ready to experience it, and the bad storytelling pushed me away.
You can't use subjectivity as a shield for making inaccurate claims, especially when your plot holes only exist because you didn't pay attention.
If you had paid attention, you would know that plot holes are not the only thing that I took issue with the beginning of this game. There's bad writing, and terrible exposition, and boring characters, and much, much more. And I'm still waiting to hear the reason that I wasn't paying attention to that explains why the protagonist shooting himself in the head actually makes sense, actually. And Pharos is not a good answer, by the way. If you were thinking that, you know that's dumb.
You could have just dropped it instead of making a misleading critique.
This is not a critique.
I hesitate to call it a critique, even.
Of course, this video was made by a P4 fan, always proving to be so toxic. LMAO.
Dude, I didn't even know there were like different races of Persona fans. I just thought they were all like one amorphous Persona fandom. I'm so glad that I'm not as terminally online as you.
People who are annoying should NT make video essays.
I think that people who are annoying shouldn't be allowed to make YouTube comments.
This just proves anyone can make a YouTube channel and talk absolute bollocks for an hour.
You didn't know that already? This is news to you? Is this your first time here? Welcome to the internet.
Every time you made a complaint, I thought about how P4 did it worse. P4's whole 2-hour opening is just and that.
Weebs, I'm so excited to explain to you what whataboutism is. Whataboutism is when you don't address my arguments and instead go, what about this thing over here? I'm sure that if I analyzed Persona 4 and Persona 5 in the same fashion, they wouldn't fare nearly as well either. But this isn't a video about Persona 4 or Persona 5. Is it? This is Persona 3! Persona 3!
Yeah, there is nothing related to her sister dying
Or something and him being weak.
to save her, but who cares, right?
That's correct. Who cares?
With all due respect, why is this title exactly like a review?
What kind of reviews are you watching? Most of the reviews that I've seen have the word review in the title. And they also don't start the video off by saying, this is not a review.
This is not a review of Persona 3's story.
Why did you spend an hour when this could be
Condensed down probably to half the length.
After all this, I'm starting to get the sense that I should have spent 5 hours so that I could spoon feed my arguments even more to you people.
It really felt like you wanted to shit on something that was well received without giving it a second shot, because sometimes you need to experience something twice to get
This is a 100-hour game. If I have to spend 200 hours into a piece of media in order to finally get it, that's not a good piece of media. I'm sorry, it's just bad.
I'd suggest doing some research before you make the video. Enjoy the view, I guess.
I maintain that I do not need to do research for a video in which I'm trying to explain why I didn't think that a story worked for me. This isn't a review or a critique, just in case you missed that, because a lot of people apparently did.
But if you can't even pay attention to the opening title that told you that you had a year to live, no offense, but that's your fault.
My weeb, the opening title doesn't say you have a year to live. The opening title says you have a year. It doesn't say you're gonna die at the end of that. That's also exactly how the other Persona games that I played worked.
But with the context of the game and the fact that Orpheus is your starting persona, should be obvious that you are going to die in this game.
Oh, so now we've moved the goalpost to you have to know about Greek mythology and then it becomes obvious. Okay, I see.
If your experience playing the game is, I stopped paying attention after a certain point, then you don't know enough about the game to make an actual review that holds any substance.
This is not a review of Persona 3's story.
I wish this was old YouTube so I could just straight up call you something devious, because this video ain't it, and I want you to feel bad about it.
Do it, you coward! Call me a slur, I dare you!
You know, since you say your favorite Persona game is 4, you'd think the twist villain trope is also something you hate, that you'd hate Adachi 2 or any anime trope in that game, but no.
Whataboutism! Also, I wasn't used to the tropes at the time that I played those games.
Apparently you decide that because you can't be bothered to interact with a game's story, because it doesn't spoon-feed you constantly.
I specifically took issue with them spoon-feeding too much with the exposition. I don't know if you saw that in the video.
Persona 4 is also my favorite Persona game, but I do love Persona 3, so when someone comes in saying, oh, the story's shit because it won't tell me why anything happens an hour into the game.
Is that really all you got from my analysis of the first hour? Really? That's it? That's all that you heard? You didn't hear anything about like the bad exposition, the boring characters, the bad writing, the guy who shot himself in the head for no reason? You didn't catch any of that part of the video. You didn't catch that?
1. The reason the protag doesn't have the initial fatigue Akutsuki states at the start of the game is because he's been aware
I
of it.
wasn't questioning why the protagonist didn't feel fatigued. I was questioning why the other characters didn't get monitored in the same fashion.
You get to see the fatigue through Akihiko recruiting Junpei. He said he was panicked and crying when he found him like any other person would.
No, Junpei didn't experience fatigue, he experienced anxiety, you dipwad. Also, he got over it like really quickly. Like, Ikutsuki said this is the kind of thing that like it takes a couple of days, but Junpei was fine right away. I guess you're just ignoring that part.
2. When the protag gets his persona, it's Pharos, the little boy, who tells him that it's alright. It's Pharos telling him what to do in that moment.
And why would the protagonist trust Pharos exactly? I can tell you that if a little ghost boy came to me in a vision and told me that it was actually okay to shoot myself in the head, I still don't think I would do it.
Hell, if you question that, then question why the protags of 3 awakens their persona, then you should be questioning the 4 and 5 protags too, seeing how you question this.
My weeb in Christ, this isn't a video about those games. We're not talking about those games here. You understand? Your whataboutism has no effect on me.
3. For the cutscenes of Reload specifically, they are 100% toned down when you compare them to the Fez version. I would tell you to go watch those, but I know you don't want to interact with this anymore.
And whose fault is that? Exactly. Huh?
Yeah, I wonder why the ocean is red either. The blood is water.
Okay. That's still stupid and doesn't make any sense.
Putting actually in the of the title will not make your statement right, Bub.
Yeah, it does.
It's explained how he died in episode Aegis.
Dude, I'm not playing episode Aegis. I'm not doing it. I didn't like the base game. You understand? I'm not playing any bonus content for a game that I didn't like. Why is so much of the quality of this game relying on bonus content? You have to know this is dumb. You have to know this is dumb.
You've got this me against the world view, but it doesn't have to be so black and white. No story is ever objectively bad.
My weeb? You are the one here with the black and white worldview if you unironically believe that the purpose of my video was to state that the story was objectively bad.
Everyone else with a shred of cognitive function who can truly understand and correctly interpret the story likes it because it is a good story.
What an incredible argument. The story is good because the people who truly understand it think that it's good, and the people who don't understand it think that it's bad. What? So true, bestie.
This video is so full of hypocritical points, claiming that 5 and 4 did things better. Did we play the same games? 30 to 34, how did he know to shoot himself to summon his persona? I don't know how did Joker know to rip off the mask.
I agree that Persona 4 and Persona 5 didn't do better in this particular aspect. We are in agreement. Thank you for your whataboutism. Your contribution has been duly noted. The difference is that Persona 3's awakening is a lot more dramatic, didn't have to happen the way it did, and happens in the game that has the reputation of having the greatest story ever.
Really don't get what your point is here.
I can tell.
You're entitled to your opinion, and can don't like whatever you want, but you pushed this review as your experience with it.
This is not a review of Persona 3.
This is not a review of Persona 3.
Yet vehemently trying to defend your own subjective opinion like it's an objective truth that needs to be accepted.
No. You don't need to accept it. It's okay. You have my permission. You don't need to accept it, my weeb. Be free. Be free, my weeb. Be free.
Seems to me like you made a garbage take and are backpedaling trying to justify why you're right.
Does it really look like I'm backpedaling right now? Also, how does it make sense for somebody to be backpedaling, but also trying to justify why they're right? Wouldn't a person who's backpedaling not be trying to justify why they're right? Do you just throw words around without thinking about them?
I don't think you should be bad-mouthing the game.
Don't care.
Persona's games are terrible with their tutorials, taking way too long, and I would expect you to know that since you say you played P4, which has even worse tutorials.
If you watched the video, you would know that the majority of the problems that I have with the story happen before you even get to the tutorials. I wasn't complaining about the tutorials at all.
I mean, if you have eyes, you could see them having the evokers all the time, so the protag knows that they're useful since all the other dorm residents have them.
If you had eyes and a brain, you would probably assume that evokers are guns. And don't get me wrong, guns are useful, but I don't think that most people would assume that they're useful for summoning anime monsters.
And seeing Yukari, someone the protag trusts, try to shoot herself with the evoker could mean that you're supposed to use it like that.
How do you know that the protagonist trusts Yukari, my weeb? How do you know that? Citation, please. Do you also just trust teenage girls that you meet in the middle of the night that have a gun on them? Is that a thing you do? You know, I had a whole section of this video dedicated to you. I had a whole section of the video dedicated to you, and I thought about cutting it out because I was worried that I would be over-explaining. But it turns out I didn't explain enough. That's my bad. I'm sorry. I'll spoon feed you better next time. Maybe next time I'll pry your mouth open with a 2x4 and strap you to a chair so that I can spoon feed information to you better.
Honestly, a lot of the stuff you say about the start of the game is right, Imo. But things like the MC using the evoker being poorly explained could also be used for Persona 4 and 5.
Yes, I know all anime is bad. Thank you for your whataboutism. Yes, thank you for your contribution. Good job, commenter.
Why don't you call them shadows? Wow, almost like you're playing a remake of a 19-year-old game that introduced shadows to the series.
Come on, man. You don't understand the problem with the pronoun game. It doesn't matter when the game came out. If the characters were alive, if they were real, if they were speaking realistically to each other, they wouldn't be calling shadows them. That's all. It's such a simple argument. It's so simple.
Not a bad video, but I think going into a story already with the intent to dislike the story will just obviously make you nitpick every little detail.
I don't know how to make this more clear. I don't know how to make this more clear. I went into this game expecting to love it. If the reputation around Persona 3 was that everybody thought it was a terrible game and I played it and I had a terrible time, I wouldn't have made a video on it.
I know this is just your opinion, but did you consider the fact we didn't ask for it?
Actually, you kind of were asking for it. I mean, you clicked on the video. You brought this onto yourself. This is kind of your fault.
The day that you can finally understand the simplicity of this story is the day I will actually take your opinion as valid. You sat there for an hour and 2 minutes and said jack shit. I hope and pray that you eventually figure out how to listen, that way you can actually enjoy this story, but you never will.
That's wow. Thank you. Thank you for the prayers. I really appreciate it. I can tell that this is a lot for people who haven't seen the sun in the past decade.
You very clearly don't understand what symbolism is.
No, I just don't care about symbolism that's attached to garbage storytelling.
Many of the arguments you've made about the beginning of this story could be applied to Persona 4 and 5. And then, stuff doesn't work for this story because South Park is a 24-minute long show, and this is an 80-hour...
It's a principle that applies to storytelling in general, not just South Park. It doesn't just work with South Park, it works with all stories of all kinds.
Also, fuck your elitism in the first minute of the video.
I don't think I was being that elitist, but even if I was, if you can't handle some ironic elitism at the beginning of the video, talking cheekily about which Persona game is the best, you are the problem. You are the problem with fan bases in general. You're the problem.
You also forgot to talk about Aegis again after saying you would.
No, I didn't. I talked about Aegis again during the section with Ryoji. Pay attention!
And completely didn't mention Fuka once.
I did actually forget about Fuka. That is true. I guess she was just a nothing, meaningless character to me.
This video is awful and you should feel bad.
I don't.
You didn't even pay attention to the game. Why are you making a video about it?
You didn't even pay attention to the video. Why are you writing a comment under it?
I'm really confused how you said you played 4 and 5, but don't understand that in the series they always have a weird urge inside that causes them to call their persona the first time.
The weird urge to break a tarot card and the weird urge to rip off a mask is very different from the weird urge to shoot yourself in the head with a gun!
Oh my sweet baby Jesus, where do I begin? So, I guess you missed the entire point of Shinjiro's story and left out the fact that he was on drugs that suppressed his persona and was gonna die regardless. Okay.
You recognize that that makes his sacrifice even more meaningless, right? If somebody is terminally ill and is about to die and they sacrifice their life for me, that means a whole lot less than somebody who has their whole life ahead of them sacrificing themselves for me, okay? That's very different.
I do not agree with you in the slightest, but I respect your opinion on the game because we all are entitled to our own opinions and preferences.
What? I don't understand. What do you mean?
Hey, you should not make any more videos.
Oops!
I'm going to be honest, I feel like you didn't pay attention to the story given the fact that you're already 2 members who have been doing this for years, so the technology was proven in research to work, and also the group was doing research on how to summon persona.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't feel like you really paid attention to my video because I wasn't confused about whether or not the technology worked. I was confused about how the protagonist figured out that the technology would work, given that he had no reason to believe that the technology would work. Did any of you watch the video?
And another thing to this over analytical S*** is like stupid, it's a video game, enjoy it.
Dude, you're so right. We should just turn off our brains whenever we're consuming anime content. That's how you guys enjoy this garbage, right? Just don't think about any of the media you consumed. It's so easy.
And also they didn't know he had the potential use of persona. Like I said, I think your video was pretty flawed for the most part, and it sounds like someone who just dislikes something cause they don't understand it. It has, as a fellow YouTuber, I got to call you out on your B****.
Thank you, fellow YouTuber.
The main character shooting himself, well, for lack of a better word, doesn't have the will to live necessarily because the loss of his parents.
These can't be the same people telling me that I have bad media literacy skills, dude. They can't be.
Bro, first of all, it's a do or die situation he was in. He was just taking a leap of faith.
That's really your explanation? He was taking a leap of faith? By shooting himself in the head?
And people do that sometimes when put in stressful situations.
Do what? Shoot themselves in the head? Yeah, a lot of people shoot themselves in the head during stressful situations, but I wouldn't call that a leap of faith.
Like that where he was probably going to die anyway.
I just wish that you had paid even a little bit of attention to the words that came out of my mouth.
Media literacy is dead.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for watching this onslaught of weeb plebeians falling to my silver-forked tongue. It was quite a delight. It truly has been a pleasure to rise above all of the objectively incorrect perspectives levied against my video. This video has been a lovely reminder that the Persona 3 fandom is not just toxic, but also stupid.
That's enough!
Who goes there?
We're the Phantom Thieves, bitch!
What are you doing in my palace?
This isn't actually a palace. We're barely on the outskirts of Mementos right now.
What? I don't get a palace? What's the point of being a shadow if you don't even get a palace?
You know what we're here for. It's time to change your heart!
Change my heart? What are you changing my heart for? Didn't you see all those comments? You should be changing everybody else's heart.
You can't just take a selection of out-of-context comments to make yourself seem correct.
This is no way to use the artistic talents you have.
Also, I mean, changing your heart sounds like a lot less work than changing everyone else's.
This is a perfect way to use my artistic talent.
So you really think arguing with YouTube comments is a good use of your time and skills?
A true keyboard warrior would never let the weebs win.
They made some valid points. Like, you called me pretentious. Why would you say that?
No, they don't understand my truth. They've been blinded by the anime. They're the problem, not me.
You're out of control, man. You're becoming no better than the very thing you criticize.
You need to be better.
No, but seriously, why did you call me pretentious, Animal Man?
Yusuke, it's a vibe thing, okay? I'll talk more about it when I make the Persona 5 has a bad story video.
No, you're not making a Persona 5 video. This isn't the kind of content that you need to put into the world. You can do so much better.
We're doing this for your own good.
And for the good of the art you put in the world.
Try and stop me.
You never see it coming.